What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we are checking out the new Google Pixel 4a. This is a phone that was rumored, expected to be released, it was leaked, then delayed, thought to be canceled entirely, but in the end, it was announced and it's finally here for real this time. And I'm actually really excited to see what this phone is all about. This is, of course, Google's latest budget Pixel phone, similar to the super popular Pixel 3a from last year, and I know a lot of people have been waiting to upgrade. It retails for $349, which I think is a great price. It beats out the iPhone SE, it's competitive against Samsung's A series phones and some other mid-range devices, and it does pack a number of Google-specific features that I know a lot of people like and that make this phone special. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and unbox this thing and see what the Pixel 4a has to offer. You can see right off the bat that the box and packaging are pretty similar to years past. It's a nice presentation overall, and I do just want to give a quick shout out to the folks over at Team Pixel who were kind enough to send this phone out a little early for us to check out. That's always appreciated. Pulling off the lid here, the first thing we see is the Pixel 4a itself in that really nice matte black color. This year, that's the only color option we do get, but I have no complaints. I think the phone looks really good. Digging a little deeper inside the box, you'll also find a stack of paperwork, which includes some instructions and legal info, as well as a SIM ejector tool. And underneath all of that stuff are the usual included accessories. We get a USB-C cable for charging, as well as Google's own 18-watt fast charger, and also thrown in is the USB-A to USB-C quick switch adapter. With all that out of the way, here is the Pixel 4a. And honestly, I think this is a really good looking phone from top to bottom. Google kept things clean and simple, the corner-to-corner display, no notch, and like I mentioned already, that matte black finish is really nice too. The Pixel 4a is a pretty compact size at 5.8 inches, which by 2020 standards, I guess makes it a small phone, but it's a comfortable device in the hand, and I think it fills the demand for reasonably sized devices that I know a lot of people still like. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're getting a Pixel 4a XL this year, so this is a one-size-fits-all phone. But like I said, I think this form factor will actually be appealing to a lot of folks and might even influence some other people to downsize. In going with a smaller form factor, Google didn't really waste any space up front, which is good, so you get that 83% screen-to-body ratio with a corner hole punch cutout for the camera that fits nicely in the status bar. I think the placement with that is solid, and while the bezels are certainly noticeable all the way around, they're small enough, and most importantly, no hideous bulky bottom chin. Everything is pretty even. I think all in all, the design up front looks great, and there's not much I'd change, especially since this phone is so affordable anyway. Around back, the housing and body of the Pixel 4a is a plastic material, which at this price point should be expected, I think. The fit and finish still feel pretty nice though, and it's a seamless design all the way around. It's a mostly smooth, sort of soft touch feeling plastic in a way with just a tiny bit of texture. And color-wise, you might be able to tell on camera, but it is a pretty dark shade of black. Taking a look around at everything else, on the right side you of course have the volume buttons and power button with its unique color that Google likes to do in a sort of blue-green or mint finish. Up top, the Pixel 4a keeps the headphone jack, which is great to see, and down below there's the USB-C port for charging and a speaker and microphone setup. Now there was actually some misinformation thrown around about the speaker setup here. The Pixel 4a does have stereo speakers, with the one down below and the earpiece doubling as the second speaker. Here's a quick audio sample so you can get an idea. You should be able to tell pretty easily that there are two speakers working there, and you guys know I love a good dual stereo speaker setup. We don't usually see that on phones at this price point, so I'm really happy the Pixel 4a offers it. Around back, the Pixel 4a has just one camera lens, which I will talk about in a second, but below that is the fingerprint sensor. and this has remained relatively unchanged for pretty much all of the Pixel devices up to this point. There's nothing wrong with that at all, though. I'm glad this phone sticks with a physical fingerprint reader. It's really fast, its placement is perfect, and there's just no need to do anything different here. With the actual display itself, the 5.8-inch screen is an OLED panel, coming in at a resolution of 2340 by 1080 and packing in around 443 pixels per inch. And at this size, with that resolution, the 4A's display is really quite sharp. It's a crisp looking screen that offers a lot of detail, and I think more than anything, that's what this phone has going for it. I don't know that it's the brightest or most colorful panel at this price point. I'll need to do some more side-by-side comparisons, and there's no high refresh rate or anything like that, but it still offers a great viewing experience overall. Like I said earlier too, there's not a whole lot in terms of distractions. With the display stretching corner to corner and no notch or bulky bottom bezel in the way, you get the maximum screen real estate for the size, and I think that's a great balance. Inside, the Pixel 4a packs a pretty decent array of specs, and with this, there's a couple of important things I want to mention. First off, this phone gets a Snapdragon 730G processor paired with the Adreno 618 GPU, 6GB of RAM, and 128GB of storage. Now, the thing worth noting here is that this is the only configuration option for this phone, and there's unfortunately no expandable storage with the 4a, though to be totally honest, I do think 128 gigs is probably going to be enough for most people. Now, yes, we are dealing with a somewhat dated processor with the 730G at this point, but here's the thing, it's still an upgrade over the 3A from last year. You get 2 more gigabytes of RAM as well, and out of the box, at least, this phone does feel fast. I don't really understand why a couple of other reviewers were so quick to be critical about this phone feeling slow. To me, it just doesn't at all. It's really well optimized, and again, you have to consider the price here, $350. Since Google does have control over everything in this case with the 4A, it's pretty well expected that we're going to get the best user experience possible with it, and that's what I feel like you are getting here. The phone to me feels snappy and responsive, and even as I start to load up more and more apps and test out a few games, the 4A does keep up with everything. Obviously, I'm looking forward to pushing this phone a bit harder over the next few days, but I don't think you should be too concerned with what you get. The 4A will likely be able to handle just about anything, both now and in the future, and I think these internal specs still do make this phone a good value overall. One other thing I'm also looking forward to testing out is the battery life. The Pixel 4a has a moderately sized 3140 milliamp capacity battery inside, which Google says should still power through the day and then some on a single charge. I think with the smaller display and some Google specific optimization with usage, there's some potential here. But like I said, I really do want to put it to the test in the coming days. If battery life is as good as advertised, then that's just one more reason why this phone could be such a good deal. Last but not least, let's talk about those cameras. And with the 4a especially, I think this is what everyone had their eye on. The Pixel 4a packs a single 12.2 megapixel f1.7 aperture lens around back, paired with an 8 megapixel f2.0 aperture selfie camera up front. There's no wide angle, which is probably the only thing I would have liked to see, but there's also no other gimmicky lenses that might never get used. You guys know that Google has never pushed the limits on camera hardware and lenses. It's all about the software capabilities and features, and with the 4a, that's exactly what you can expect. Pretty much everything you could ask for is here, including night sight and 4K video recording even, but in the end, the results will likely speak for themselves. I went ahead and just snapped a few pictures with the selfie camera and the rear lens just to test it out of the box, and the selfie camera I think is pretty good, all things considered, though that's not exactly what I would praise about this phone. The thing that I think is really going to blow people away is going to be that rear camera lens, and I'm really interested to see how this camera does stacked up against the iPhone SE, even the iPhone 11, a bunch of Samsung's phones, the OnePlus Nord, and a whole bunch more. So look out for a ton of camera comparison videos in the coming days with this phone. All in all, while the 4a might have been launched a few months later than what we would have hoped, I think what was delivered is a phone with a lot of potential. It's a good-sized, affordable phone with a solid design and enough specs and features to certainly dub it a great value. And just because it is a little later in the year, I don't necessarily think you should totally dismiss this phone because it is still competitive with plenty to offer. So there you go. Those are my initial thoughts and first impressions of the new Pixel 4a. What do you guys think? Are you even interested in picking this phone up at all? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know your thoughts, of course. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.